So you asked me about Ejusdem Generis. First place we should start is with the definition. So, Ejusdem Generis. Ejusdem Generis, Latin, of the same kind or class. A canon of construction holding that when a principal word or phrase follows a list of specifics, the general word or phrase will be interpreted to include only items of the same class as those listed. For example, in the phrase horses, cattle, sheep, pigs, goats, or any other farm animals, the general language, or any other farm animals, despite its seeming breadth, would possibly be held to include only four-legged, hoofed mammals typically found on farms, and thus would exclude chickens. Because those words presented a class, what would be the identifying marks of those animals? What were they? Four-legged, hoofed mammals. A chicken is two-legged and has no hoofs. See what I'm saying? Okay. When I first ran across this term, it was basically in the contract law class I teach. But let's do it. Let's look it up. So, in the section dealing with construction of general and specific contractual terms upon inconsistencies, rule of adjustum generis. Now, this is not just a contract principle, and I'll show you that in a minute. Where there are inconsistent general terms and provisions in a contract, ordinarily yield to specific ones, and the meaning of general words. So remember when I read the definition in the explanatory section, it said cows, horses, pigs, and those were your general words. Okay, will be restricted by more specific terms. However, where both general and special provisions may be given reasonable effect, both are obtained. Both are retained. So let's look right here. Adjustum generis. Under the rule of adjustum generis, the meaning of a word in a series of words is determined by the company it keeps. That is, general words following a particular or specific term are restricted in meaning to those things or matters that are of the same kind or those first mentioned. Where an intent that the general terms be given broader meaning, then the rule requires is not clearly manifest. Under another statement of the adjustum generis doctrine, where an enumeration of specific things is followed by some more general word or phrase, such general word or phrase will be held to include only things of the same general nature as those specified. So now, let's go back to here. So you're seeing what that means. So let's go here. Person means. Now, where see at the top on the top right, you see I'm only looking in the federal jurisdiction, not the state, but the same rules apply at the state level. Okay?
You see right here now. See right here under 3102, Title 20. Title 22 USC 3102. This is just an example. You have to pay attention to what's going on in each respective spot, even in your state. See right here, it's characteristics of a country other than the United States. Person means any individual, branch, partnership, association, associated group, association, estate, trust, corporation. So you already know everything after the comma, after the word individual. You know what a branch is. A branch is like a branch office of a corporation. Like your bank down your street might be a branch of the home office that's in the capital or in another state. You already know what a partnership is. You know what an associated group is, or an association, an estate, trust, or corporation. So that means what? Under the rules of Ejusdem Generis, an individual is what? An entity, not a man or woman. And this is also why I don't like some of the attorneys out there, because they're disingenuous because they know this. But there are good attorneys that I do respect. But even when it says a foreign person, I showed you, if you look right there, um, 22 USC 9754, it's worded the same way. A person that is the person, the term person, an individual or entity. A foreign person means any individual or entity. Okay. So, now, before people want to understand that I was talking about contracts a minute ago, understand this is not just a contract principle, this is a statutory principle. Canons of construction, adapted from Scalia and Garner. Those are your Supreme Court justices. And if you look right here, Ejusdem Generis canon, where general words follow an enumeration of two or more things. They apply only to persons or things of the same general kind or class specifically mentioned. So this is also a principle in statutory construction, like I was saying. So
Now I'm not going to read this whole thing because it'd just be rehashing everything I went over, but here's the AI assisted research on Westlaw and what it says. The principle of Ejusdem Generis is a textual canon used in statutory interpretation. It clarifies the meaning of a broad or general term by referring to the specific items that precede it. This principle ensures that the general term is understood to include only items of the same kind as those specifically listed. So you can see right here you got a definition application. Then it gives you an example for, so the definition, Ejusdem Generis is defined as the rule that seeks to clarify a broad or general terms looking at the specific items. And it gives you Citizens Insurance Company of America versus Mullins Food Products. And it gives an example. For instance, if a statute lists cars, trucks, and other vehicles, the term other vehicles would be interpreted to include items similar to cars and trucks, such as motorcycles, but not airplanes or boats. This interpretation ensures consistency and prevents overly broad application of general terms. And then you've got recent case laws. So you can see right here, when it comes to contract law and statutory law, this principle is something that is legitimate and it does work. It is applicable.